Just want to start out by giving Texas a lot of credit. The number one team in the country, and Sark and what they do, a great team. But I also want to thank the fans. What an unbelievable atmosphere. From driving in this morning from my house, seeing everybody at game day, at Big Noon Kickoff, seeing people around the stadium, tailgating, and then the atmosphere in the stadium when we came out for warm-ups. I mean, there wasn't very many empty seats, and for a noon kickoff, to have that many people in the stadium was amazing. And so, for an atmosphere like that, week one, to bring everybody together was great for our team, and I think it made a huge difference in the fourth quarter. So I want to thank. I say all the time, it takes everybody, and the fans certainly brought it today. And man, I'm just proud of our guys. Just a gritty win to start the season.
All righty, we'll start here in the front row with Tim May. Tim, go ahead,
Ryan,
lead
you
us
said
off.
all week, all that matters is the win, right? And number one, you got that accomplished. Like you said, it was a nitty-gritty game. But number two, how did Julian Sayin handle the pressure? He seemed pretty poised out there.
I agree. I said in the locker room, I thought he handled himself well. I thought he took care of the ball, made some throws when he needed to. A couple times when it wasn't there, he did not force it. Could we have opened it up more in the second half? Yeah, but I thought Brian called an unselfish game. I thought the defense was playing well. When we got the ball back on the 10-yard line there with 8 minutes to go, we ended up running off about 4 minutes off the clock. And we thought that was important. We talked about it this week. In week one, we can't beat ourselves. We wanted to let them beat us. And, for a first-time starter, you just don't want to put them in that situation. So hindsight says we did the right thing, but you're never too sure. But I thought the drive that the offense had there in the first half, I think we ate up over 8 minutes off the clock, which was part of the game plan, because we wanted to keep their offense off the field, and then to finish it with that 4th and 1 was big, and then the play by Carnell. But the story of the game was the defense. Matt, I thought, put a good game plan together. The coaches put a good game plan together, but the grittiness of our guys running around. There's a lot we can build on here, a lot we have to improve on. The team you see right now will not even be close to the team you see halfway through the season or at the end of the year, but it certainly makes the corrections a lot easier to make after a win against a top 5 opponent like this.
We'll go right over here to the right, Spencer Holbrook.
Ryan, I know that you don't look at it in terms of validation, but with Matt and the way that his defense performed today, what were just general thoughts on how great they were? And does it kind of show, I kind of made the right move here, bringing Matt in? Well,
we have to prove ourselves every time we're in that arena. So that's just what you do. When you stop feeling like you have to prove yourself, then you stop improving. And so that's the way we feel. But all that being said, I know what kind of a coach Matt is because I see him every day. You guys don't. So that's the thing about football. I share that with the guys. All the work that you put in the dark doesn't come to light until his first game, And that's sometimes a sobering thing about football. You put all this work in just to give you a chance, and then, you have X number of plays to go make it happen. But that's what competitive excellence is. And, again, a great start. I thought the game plan was excellent, but the buy-in is what's most important. Plays are plays. Scheme is scheme. But what matters is the guys and the Warriors on the field, believing in it. And the work that's put in, I can't tell you how much time Larry Johnson and James Laurinaitis and Matt and Tim Walton, how about the DBs and Jermaine and IGB making that play down there on the end zone. These guys, they work their tails off to prepare their players and to grade out a champion to do their job. And a lot of guys did their job. Again, was it perfect? No, there's a lot of things that we got to improve on, a ton. But at least we have a starting point.
All right, we're going to go over here to the right for 2 questions. First one to Patrick Murphy and then to Jake Trotter. Patrick, go ahead.
Ryan, you said a couple times there's stuff to improve on. Is one of the higher up things getting the run game going a bit more?
We'll have to look at the film and see. I mean, that's a stout front. There was a lot of guys in there. And, when we play them again, I don't think it's going to look the same way. But, we were, leaning on some of our tight ends in there. And there was some good runs in there. I gotta really look hard now at the film and see, where things didn't go perfect because, we were pretty tied in on both edges there. And so, those are downhill runs. We're looking to really get physical and push guys around. But I do think that we were getting movement out there. It was not a high-scoring game. I think we had 4 possessions in the first half. when it's time to spread everybody out and air it out, we'll do that and create more space. But this is a team that has a defense that has great team speed. And so we took that into consideration, putting the game plan together. It certainly wasn't perfect, but it's a start.
Yeah, Ryan, the fourth down stops were a big difference in this game. What does that say about your defense, especially with so many new starters going forward?
Situational football becomes big, and when you're huddling and slowing the game down, sort of like we are, that means the situations become more and more critical. And understanding what that is and spending time on these situations is what we do, and making sure that we're prepared for them. But you got to go do it. And every time you get a fourth down stop, it's like a turnover. So the interception was huge. But when you start getting fourth down stops at midfield, those flip the entire field, and it's like getting a turnover. So how many fourth down stops? We have 3? 4. There you go. The one to end the game, but 3 before that's almost 4 turnovers, and that plays into it. And there was that opportunity we had early in the game on that fourth down. And that was the other thing with Julian. Early on, I thought he threw some good balls. We actually had a few drops, which is rare around here. And that may have been a different game. You just never know how it starts or how it's going to finish. But yeah, no, those fourth down stops were big.
Okay, we're going to go over here to Austin Ward. Before we do that, we're going to send Carnell Tate and Luke Montgomery to the back. So if you'd like to talk to Carnell and Luke, they'll be in the back. We'll go over here to Austin Ward.
Mentioned the drops, and so Julian's numbers obviously could have looked a little bit different early. I want to pair that with the idea that you said that by the middle of this season that the offense is going to look much different. How much going into this game for Julian's first start, the talent of Texas, how much could you have reasonably put him out there to execute at this point? How much further is there to go? Because I imagine it's quite a lot.
Yeah, a ton. But I thought I was impressed with his poise. He had a good look in his eye, and what he was saying and what he was seeing was exactly what was going on. That's a great sign. I remember CJ's first start. I remember Justin's first start. And when I mean first start, in big games. Dwayne, Kyle, Will was different because he'd played a lot of football. But when you have that first start and you're out there, there are so many things to take into consideration. When you're the quarterback at Ohio State and you're playing number 1 Texas against one of the top defenses in the country, which we have a tremendous amount of respect for, the one thing we didn't want to do and I didn't want to do was put him in a bad spot. It's just not fair to him. Now, coming out of it, quite honestly, I think he probably could have handled it, but we weren't going to do that because we know it's a long season, and that was the decision that was made, and so we'll go from here.
Okay, we got time for a couple more. We'll go over here to Bill Rabinowitz.
Ryan, this team has said from the start that they were not defending national champions. This was a whole new team.
Yeah.
What kind of a statement do you think you made today?
Well, we said that we want to set the tone. When you start a season, you want to set the tone for the season. And there's a lot of guys who are stepping into roles for the first time ever. And for these guys to step in and really have a great energy about them, I thought they were poised. I thought the moment was not too big for them. And maybe just because of the run that we went on last year and those guys being in those games, or even for the guys who weren't being a part of it, take a guy like Devin Sanchez who played today. He was with us for those 2 weeks, so he saw what it was like. I don't think those guys batted an eye. Peyton Pierce played well. I got to watch the film and see, but there was good play across the board, and it's a reference point as we move forward for the first game of the year. When I looked at the schedule and I said, okay, you open up with Texas at home with a freshman or with a young quarterback, it was like, okay. It might be nice to have a few non-conference games to lead up to the season, but as we got closer, it was just like, this is actually a great way to start because everyone's got to be on their game. Preseason, as we talked about, July was edgy. August was edgy. We knew we had to bring it this first game, and then I think they fed off the crowd. The crowd was strong today, and so this is their team. This is their story, and here's the first chapter.
Julian didn't have a lot of experience coming in, obviously, but either did Arch, really. How much he looked confused at times. What was the game plan against him?
No, he's going to be a great player and is a great player. We just felt like in week 1 that we didn't want to beat ourselves. So we took that into consideration in everything that we did. And then knowing there's contingency plans in place. I mean, if we were down 2 scores, this call sheet had all kinds of different contingency plans. Well, it's the same thing on defense. And, he is going to be a great quarterback and is a tremendous talent. But, in anybody you play in that first week, you just don't want to beat yourself, and then you go from there. But he made some really good throws there in the fourth quarter, and you can see the talent, but give our defense credit.
All right, we got 2 more over here. First, Stefan, and then to Bill Landis. Stefan, go ahead.
Ryan, what stood out to you about kind of the different ways that Arvell impacted the game specifically, especially there in the first half? And also, do you have an update on Kenyatta Jackson? Yeah,
Kenyatta, I don't think I can come up and say what exactly it was, but they took his helmet away, and we'll kind of evaluate how that is moving forward. But I don't see it being a long-term injury. For Arvell has a lot of versatility. When you get up on Arvell, you can just see he has all the traits it takes to be a dominant linebacker. And so what I saw out there today was a guy who was running sideline to sideline from the linebacker position at the second level. But then also you saw him at the end when KJ went down, he was playing up front and rushing the passer and putting pressure on the quarterback. So he can do all those things. This is probably the most he's played in a big game like this, and he'll learn a lot from this. We'll see how he grades out.
All right, wrap it up with Bill Landis.
What you're talking about with the offensive game plan, playing slower, playing a little ball control, it feels like the trade-off there needs to be confidence in your defense to stand up in a game when 2 touchdowns gives you the win. What gave you that confidence that the defense was going to be able to do that today?
Yeah, I think it's a great point. I played this game out in my head every day for the last 3 months. And I didn't know how it was going to go, because when you're going against yourself every day and you have inexperienced players that haven't actually done it on the field, you're not sure. I had an idea how it looked, but I wasn't sure. So what I was trying to do early in the game was get a feel for what was going on. How was our defense holding up front? What kind of rhythm were they in? How fast were they playing? What did we look like in terms of the front on offense? Were we moving the line of scrimmage? How were the running backs running? Brand new running backs. Were they taking care of the football? How was Julian handling it? What were they doing on defense? And then as the first quarter kind of went on, I could see us, getting off the field on defense. I felt like we were moving the line of scrimmage. We had that big drive. We did get, kind of, screwed down inside the 10-yard line early on, and you could see we decided at one point to take a play-action shot, which almost turned into a disaster. But other than that, we were fairly conservative because we felt like our defense was playing well, and that was the. I will say this: at halftime, up 7, coming out, I thought we could go and really flip the scoreboard. We didn't do that, and then as that third quarter wore down, it was like, okay, I feel like our defense can hang in there as long as we don't give them anything cheap on offense. So that's how we played this game. We'll see how the next one goes.
All right, Coach. Thank you very much.
Yep.